Okay, before I start, does anybody know what a drug consumption room is? Okay, yeah.
Sorry, you want to tell me?
Oh yeah, no, of course. Drug consumption room basically is the medically supervised injecting center. So users can come along, bring in their street drugs with them to inject on site, where there's be health workers on site present to engage with them, should they wish to engage. You know, criteria depends on various drugs in the world. At the moment, we have about 90. I'm going to call them DCRs from now on. So there's about 90 DCRs throughout the world. And in 2 months' time, number 91 is going to open in Paris. So I'm kind of very chuffed with that. I've been liaising with Bernard Bertrand, who's the expert on DCRs in France. He's worried me a bit because he said he's been fighting for 10 years. And the last 4 have been pretty horrendous. Nonetheless, Paris eventually got there. And I'm surprised because France is one of the most repressive countries regarding drug use and penalties for drug use. So I'm chuffed that France has managed to do that. Okay. So, street injecting. Past 2 years, 2.5 years, I've been concentrating my work in pharmacy-based needle exchange. So I'm based in 2 of the busiest pharmacies in Birmingham city centre. We distribute literally thousands and thousands of needles every week. This enabled me to obviously engage more proactively with some of the rough sleepers and more chaotic people that live in our city. And some of them have got some, well, horrendous and sad pictures to show you. They allowed me to take pictures of their complications, and it's pretty sad and horrendous if you ask me. But, so when we talk about public injecting, what are the main problems? Well, increasing femoral injecting, that's definitely one. For example, also young users, mid-20s, with a fantastic network of veins on their arms, but yet they'll go in their groin. Well, you got perfectly good veins in your arms. Well, yeah, but because I'm going to inject in public, it's much quicker to access the femoral vein. In and out, a couple of seconds, it's done. Obviously, if you inject in public, you are worried that you're going to get caught by either a member of the public, a car park attendant, toilet cleaner, police, PCSOs. So you're having to hurry up. When you hurry, you make mistakes. One of the common mistakes is having a missed hit. So we all know what happens when you have a missed hit. You go and score again, because you're not going to get your rush. That also will have an impact on SSTR, skin and soft tissues infections. So there's definitely an increase in that. But the only decrease is in cell rotation, unfortunately. People find a vein, they try to stick to that one, because again, they're in a rush. So obviously that's going to lead to potentially increase in BBVs. But regarding BBVs, I believe it's been quite hard to quantify how drug consumption room gets stop the spread of BBVs. Studies have been done from Sydney and Vancouver, where it's quite actually hard to quantify that. Okay, should you come to inject in my room, I will stop you contracting HIV, but hepatitis C. Well, how do you quantify that? Very hard to quantify. What we do know is that injecting in public increases your risk of overdose, and obviously increase needle litter, which the commissioners are not impressed with that one. I can't remember, I was reading down the SMNGP website, but what a quote. Are these people with problems, or are they problem people? This is what we need to ask ourselves. I'd like to see there are people with problems. Unfortunately, some people see them as problem people, which is quite sad. Increase in femoral injecting. Okay, so I'm glad I'm in the morning and not the after lunch. Yeah, gentleman, is 60 years of age and was using in public for years, so he had a pseudoaneurysm in his femoral vein. Not pretty sight at all. Venous ulcers, obviously associated with femoral injecting. These guys have been injecting in the street for a few years, got clean. He's actually the gentleman that's in my documentary, he 5 years being drug-free, then ulcers are developing. He's angry with himself, that's on the one leg. One ankle is on the 2 on the other one. This is 5 years after being drug-free, as a result of femoral injecting. Well, we definitely see an increase in abscesses and other soft and skin and soft tissue infections. this guy had a selection, quite a wide selection of abscesses on his leg, you know, and he says himself, you know, the more you rush, the more you miss, okay? This particular gentleman, I'm happy to say it's healed up quite nicely, but he's got massive craters now as a result, you know. But this is his quote, you know, I have to rush. It's cold, it's dark, I miss often, you know. His technique was pretty poor to start with. The minute that it stank, indicating that he missed the vein, he just carry on, you know, he was scared of being caught, so he just went into the barrel subcutaneously, and that's resulted. This gentleman, well, this is one of 3 ulcers, abscesses, sorry, they had to be surgically removed. He was in quite a lot of pain walking around the streets of Birmingham, hardly surprising, you know. Decrease in cell rotation, this is another young kid, you know, that's just using a cephalic and basilic vein because, you know, it's there, so I can get it there and then, you know, rotate, I don't have time to look for veins, you know. And remember, it's cold and dark when you're outside. And veins don't like cold, and they certainly don't like stress. That's the ones all that increase in overdose deaths, which links with drug consumption rates. You know, the first one opened in Bern in Switzerland in 1986, and since then there's been no overdose deaths. You know, it's the facts speak for themselves. Drug consumption rates in the world have to deal daily with. If you think about this, 9 children throughout the world, they probably deal daily with hundreds of overdoses. You know, and what happens? Guy goes over, a bit of oxygen. You know, sometimes naloxone is used, sometimes it's not. You know, they deal with it quite pretty efficiently. There's no need for call an ambulance, so you're saving money for the NHS. You don't need to go to hospital and be kept for 12 hours also for observation. So it's a money-saving exercise. Now, this is shots from various parts of Birmingham, where you can see the problem. Now, with the guy, Bernard from the French DCR network, he created a global platform for drug consumption rooms. It's a fantastic resource. There's a lot of links on there. It gives you the names where they are in the world, even the opening hours, etc., etc. And we've been sharing some pictures. So he sent me pictures from France, and I do the same. You know, one from Birmingham. You know, so. Yeah, it's quite sad to me to share these pictures with you guys, but we were aware of the problems. I found it appalling that some human beings are having to inject in those conditions, purely because there's no way for you to do so. Like I said in the documentary, we give them needles already. We know they're going to inject street drugs. Now, why can't we give them somewhere safe to do so? You know, well, they got mind said, well, drug consumption pubs, aren't there a drug consumption for alcohol? You know, I thought it's a valid argument. Mentioned that to a few people who went, Philippe, stop it now. You know, I said, well, you know. Yeah, so needle litter in our city, and yeah, it's pretty sad. You know, really. So, well, yeah, what could be the solution to alleviate overdose deaths, transmission of bloodborne viruses, injecting complications? You know, as far as I'm concerned, a simple, effective, pragmatic, and humanistic approach that is evidence-based. Yeah, no ifs, no buts. This is evidence-based. So that leads me to the drug strategy, 2010-2014. Before I go any further, I would like to say that I need to be careful of what I say this morning. Okay. Okay. So this is what the drug strategy told us. The UK is, of course, not unique in having to confront drug misuse. So as we build upon this strategy, we are committed to continuing to review new evidence on what works in other countries and what we can learn from it. Okay? Because I was told, well, drug consumption rooms, they contravene the drug strategies. Do they? Well, I don't know. You tell me. This government is committed to an evidence-based approach. High-quality scientific advice in this complex field is therefore of the utmost importance. How much evidence do you need from 90 drug consumption rooms in about 16 or 20 countries throughout the world? I could fill this room with the evidence that's been published on their evidence, their efficiency, you know. So, is the government committed to an evidence-based approach? we going to learn from what works in other countries? Because I think it's paramount that we do, you know. But that's the drug strategy. So to me, that's music to my ears. Okay. I think a DCR. I can only talk obviously about Birmingham. Okay. Very, very easy to set up and to move. You know, the idea is I would have porter cabins. You know, so medically equipped porter cabins. I met with the manufacturers of those cabins. Guy told me, you give us the specs, we do it, then you give us 24 hours notice and we'll set it up for you. So in 24 hours I call them, I need one here, bang, it's there. You know, the problem moves to a different part of the city, I just pick it up, move it somewhere else. 24 hours, that's all they need, you know. So where are we now in Birmingham? Well, I had a petition that started get people to sign it about a couple of years ago. Hence why it's going around out today as well. You know, so far 350 professionals from across all tiers have signed it. Documentary we started in 2011 and we finally uploaded it on YouTube in October 2012, so October just gone. So far 16,500 views, I couldn't believe it. You know, I was like, whoa. At this stage I'd like to commend Luke, the guy that did the documentary with me. He used to be a drug worker, and I did a course in media studies, you know, and the amount of hours that this guy could, we've got hours and hours of footage, you know, and the amount of hours that he spent editing it was just, John will know what I'm talking about on that. Luke must have square eyes, man. I need to get him some new glasses because seriously, the editing was so time consuming. I then formed the ICDCR, which is the Independent Consortium of Drug Consumption Rooms. I formed that a couple of months ago, you know. We'll go back to the next slide, see who's on board at the moment. We're waiting for a few more responses, but after we're liaising with Brighton and Paris, we've had meetings with Public Health England and local politicians. The last one was a couple of weeks ago. We met a local politician that stated that before the meeting, so he met with Dr. Yates and myself, and he said, oh, I spoke to my colleagues yesterday before meeting you guys today, and this is what they said to me. You're brave. Okay, after we stated our case, he was like, well, drug consumption rooms make sense. Okay, well, let us know who we need to speak to that can actually do something about that. He said he will. But as we're all aware, politicians say things, you know. Let's not forget that our Prime Minister, David Cameron, stated in 2002, so 11 years ago, when he was part of the Home Affairs Select Committee on Drugs, that drug consumption rooms should be piloted in the UK. That's 11 years ago. I'm just about to send him a letter, just to ask him how he feels about his statement that he made 11 years ago. I just want an answer from him, you know. We'll see how long it'll take me to get this answer. But that was his words. And for whoever, some of you were at the HIT conference last year, a couple of years ago in Liverpool, when the wonderful Neil Hunt did his presentation, he had a quote and he had on his slide a picture of David Cameron and like that, you know, drug consumption rooms. So we'll see what our local, our Prime Minister says in response to that. So yeah, the ICDCR, so what we got, well there's myself, but there's the wonderful, wonderful Dr. Yates, you know, she's semi-retired now. She told me 2 years ago, she said, Philippe, I will work for you for free. What? Yeah, we'll tell the commissioner you can have a GP on site for free. So you're selling yourself 100 grand. So I thought, fantastic. I mean, you know, this is all the credential that these people have. You know, Dr. Martin Hall, you know, is also GP lead. He's also a medical director in Birmingham for Swanswell. You know, Marcus, director, the service manager for Park House, local rehab. Nigel Bronson, this name rings a bell. Oh yeah, the wonderful Nigel Bronson. Thank you so much, Nigel, for all your help. And we've got a work cut out, my friend. Jamie Bridge is over there. Thank you so much, Jamie, for joining us. And we obviously got Neil Hunt on board. So far, the Hepatitis C Trust is on board. I'm waiting to hear from National AIDS Trust also. Okay. Supporting organisations so far, we've got the global platform for DCRs, we've got NNEF, HATE, Hep C Trust, Swanswell and Inclusion. But yet, obviously, this ICDCR, I've only, you know, did that a couple of months ago, so obviously we're generating interest at the moment, but the idea is to get as many supporting organisations, so when we write to the relevant parties, we can say, well, this is who is representing us and who is supporting us. Okay? And thank you, Jen, and thank you. So, any questions?
just to contextualise it, I am playing devil's advocate, because in Wales we have been trying to also set up a drug self-injecting facility. So I'm going to chuck some of the questions back at you that were made to us by the Minister.
Yeah.
So the first one was, why a drug consumption room and not a safe injecting facility? Because a drug consumption room includes smoking, consumption of drugs in other ways than just injecting.
Yeah, but it totally depends on your crime group and the demand for it. First, DCRS opens, like in Switzerland, Germany, Holland, they open for injectors, and some people want to do access for smoking, so then they turn them into both injecting and smoking. Okay? But the difference with DCR and SIF, there's none. It's different names really, but there's not that much difference between the two. They are purpose-made buildings for people to come and bring their drugs and to consume on the premises under medical
Is there a
supervision.
fear if you open a facility where people can just smoke that they maybe transition into injecting?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Ideally I want a couple of booths, for smokers. Yeah. But then after that it's funding. It's all about funding.
Won't dealers hang around, given that you have a captive audience for drugs now? They'll just allocate themselves.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, there would be cameras for the facilities, but also monitoring the streets. And obviously we'll have a local agreement with the police. We will tell, this is the house rules inside for the users. Obviously there'll be no dealing and sharing on the premises, but don't score within the vicinity, don't get us shut down. So it's agreement with service users, and word of mouth goes such a long way. But it's also an agreement with the police. So if we was to see a car, a known dealer hanging around, we're calling the police. Get rid of these people. Whatever you do not score in the vicinity. But like I said, there hasn't been that much problem worldwide with evidence, because that was the main concern with residents. Are you going to attract new dealers? That didn't happen.
Okay. What about new initiates to injecting? When in a needle exchange, you may have somebody who is thinking about or has just started to experiment with injecting.
Yeah.
If they attended DCR.
Yeah. Then they will start injecting.
How would you differ your approach with them?
Same argument that was thrown 25 years ago with needle exchange, when they said you're going to encourage people to start injecting. Well, that didn't happen. So it's the same thing. Also, when the commissioner said, drug consumption, it's not flavor of the month. Well, it's never been flavor of the month. It will never be flavor of the month. And most of the arguments are the one that were branded 25 years ago with needle exchange. And it was a sensational. What's sensational about it? Remember 25 years ago when people decided we're going to give needles to people? Oh, that was pretty sensational back then. What happened as a result? England, lowest HIV prevalence. I think Jane's going to give me the fingers now.
I am.
Yes,
So
indeed. But thank you, Josie.
No, can I just ask one, because it's really, really important. One of the biggest arguments that we came across was it's going to cost, broadly speaking, 400,000 a year if you put in, we didn't have free GPs in fairness. So how many lives are you going to save, and how do you justify it, given that most drug-related deaths happen in people's homes or indoors?
Yeah. Well, I'm just basing this on the research and the evidence that how many overdoses they deal with on a daily basis. People going over on the premises. Regarding funding, the drugs are currently costing the UK government 13 billion a year. That's 1 billion a month. Can I have a bit of that money, please? I don't want much. I just need a bit. Proceeds of crime. That dealer that's outside my drug consumption room, arrest him, confiscate his house, his car, and give me some of the money to run it. No brainer. Thank you so much.